Good morning, artist here at Oakwood. It is July 29th, 2020. It's our 66th day of sketching together. Welcome back to the show. We are talking about Georgia O'Keeffe today. So I've got a Georgia O'Keeffe painting here of an iris. Um, of an iris. And a couple of things about Georgia O'Keeffe. She may be one of the most recognizable artists in all of art history, in modern art, I should say, contemporary art. She was born in 1886 and lived, 1887, and she lived until 1986, so she died at 98. And she loved art making so much, she would have done it all of her life, but she had vision problems, macular degeneration. In 1972, she stopped painting. In 2014, so unfortunately this was after her death, a painting from hers from 1932 sold for $44 million at auction. That it was far greater than most paintings had ever sold in anyone's lifetime. So I wish Georgia O'Keeffe could have lived to have seen that. In 1924, she married the photographer Alfred Stieglitz, and Alfred loved photographing Georgia O'Keeffe. And so he was 60 at the time, she was 37, and he only lived until 1946. And then she lived a very long life after him, over 40 more years. So she grew up in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. I've heard rumors that she did not like Sun Prairie. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't read a whole lot of her memoirs. But at some point when she married Alfred, moved to New Mexico and lived the rest of her days there and painting the landscapes and the flowers of New Mexico. So Alfred loved to take her photograph, and so he's probably most well known for photographs of Georgia O'Keeffe. There are many series that he did of her, and these stunning black and whites. So we are going to be looking at watercolor today. So I pulled out some liquid watercolors. I'm really struggling with liquid paints right now. I don't know why, but they are not my friend these days. So I'm going to work on a poppy, I think, today. I'm going to work really big, and I'm going to use the techniques that Georgia O'Keeffe would have used in her paintings. I'm going to work big, like as though we had a big magnifying glass looking at the flowers. She not only painted flowers, but she also painted skulls. So I'll show you a skull or two of hers. She painted landscapes as well. Here are some skulls that she would have seen on in the desert. See, she painted the New Mexico landscape. Of course, she did still lifes as well. She put flowers into landscapes. She did all kinds of work, but she really loved to work very big and exaggerated. Sometimes she worked very simplistically. She loved the contour, the outer contour of an image, of an object. And so she really focused on that. She believed her art was about really finding the sensualness in the imagery she was working in. So she blew things up very big. So she focused in. I like to say focusing in. So I'm going to do a poppy today. I'm going to take her image away, and I'm going to draw it as big as I can. Somewhere around here I have my pencil. Okay, so I'm going to work really big. If you have your sketchbook out and you want to work like Georgia O'Keeffe too, you can just imagine a flower. We all can imagine what a flower looks like and the petals of a flower look like. I'm going to cheat today, and I am going to find that poppy again, and I'm going to, because I can imagine what a poppy looks like. I can think of it in my mind, but if I look at Georgia O'Keeffe's poppy, if I can find it, I might be a little bit more successful at the contour of the petals and leaves of that poppy. Oh, these are beautiful poppies too. These are really focusing in on those poppies. So I'll work with that one because I can't find the red poppy I was looking at. I'm going to draw them really quick. I'm just going to do one. I'm going to do one poppy. So I'm just using some very, very simple lines. I can already tell I am not going to be working circular, but that's okay. My center here, that's just going to be, it doesn't have to be anything exact about our art at all. Not working in architecture here, we're not working in design. We can really just kind of have the freedom. I'm sure that Georgia O'Keeffe used in her work to just let things happen in your art. So I am going to use a little bit of red. What's this color? Fire hydrant red. I'm going to use a little bit of orange juice orange. Some pretty simple names here. And some canary yellow. And I'll also want to use the black, and I don't know what that one will be called. Might even want to put down a little bit of white, but I see that this set does not have a white in it. Ah, I talked about that yesterday, I think, or the day before. This is ink black. The oil pastels I was using don't have a white either, and that makes it really challenging to blend colors when you don't have a white to mix in to get some of those lighter colors. So I've got 3 brushes, a big one, medium, and a smaller fine detail brush, and I'm gonna work big. I'm gonna try to imagine how Georgia O'Keeffe would have worked. I imagine she would have worked really big with brushes. Some of her canvases are quite large. So there goes the problem of working like this, working on an easel, and my colors being pretty runny. So that tells me add less water. It also tells me use the right tool for the right job. I've said that before too. I've heard it a lot. A lot of people say that. So I'm using, because I wanted to work big today and I didn't want to use any of the nice watercolor papers we have here, because I want to save that for people who come in to work in the studio. I'm using just a drawing paper, and drawing paper is okay for watercolor, but it's not great. Doesn't adhere, doesn't sink in, and it gets a little tricky to make it stay where you put it. Okay, so you can see sometimes I take no time with my art, and that's what I'm getting. I'm getting sometimes I think that's a great approach too, that the more time I spend on it, sometimes the art should just be really freeing. Oh, it should always be really freeing, but sometimes we're really controlled in our art, and sometimes we're not. And sometimes just working really big and letting ourselves just get into the process can be so freeing and teaching as an artist. So if you have the means to work in watercolor for our Georgia O'Keeffe Day, please do. If you don't, then how about colored pencil? Or even working really big and focusing in on the inner parts of the flower through pen and ink, even a ballpoint pen. I wonder if any of you have been to museums where Georgia O'Keeffe's work is on display. I know I've seen a couple of her works, probably in Milwaukee at the museum there. It's been many years. I used to go to the Museum of Art in Milwaukee a lot. I used to wouldn't do it anymore, but because I'm just not that brave in driving young people around cities, but I used to when I was teaching 20 years ago. I would take all of these trips to Milwaukee. I would take kids to see, high school students to see the Museum of Art, as well as to go to Shakespeare plays in Milwaukee. Now, I just don't do that anymore, which means I'm not seeing a lot of art. And but the art displays at the Museum of Art in Milwaukee didn't change a lot. So whether I'd been there when I was a high schooler or if years later I took high schoolers there, the art seems very, very similar at times. Okay, I am no Georgia O'Keeffe at all, by any means. Every time I paint a painting these days in front of all of you, it makes me just want to go back and do it all over again, because I am not, well, one, I need new glasses, so it's really hard for me to see close up. And another is that it's hard to paint from the side here. When I look at the camera and I look back here, and I try to look at all of you, and it's not coming out quite the way I hoped it would, but that's okay. I'm going to go back into this. I am going to use pastels. I know I'm not going to get it done before tomorrow because I've got a lot going on today, as I'm sure all of you do as well. So I know I'm not going to get it done, but it's a start. And I would like to try dry pastels because I'm not feeling confident today or yesterday in my painting abilities right now. Although on another day, I'd be just fine. Today I am not. So it's a rough start here. Put in this last bit of color. It's funny the things we get drawn to, isn't it? You know, of all the things she could have painted in the world, her focus was flowers. I wonder what mine would be. Gosh, I don't know what it would be. Right now, sometimes it's armadillos, sometimes it's nature. I guess right now it's portraits. I'm really into making portraits. So I don't know what my thing is, but some artists get a thing and they stick with it. And while Georgia O'Keeffe did diversify, she painted skulls, she painted landscapes. Sometimes she'd paint a human, she'd paint cityscapes. It was really the flowers that, at least I think of her for being known for. Think of Georgia O'Keeffe, we think of flowers. Okay, there's my very, very rough poppy. I am not pleased at all, but maybe I'll stick with it. I'll go back into it. I will use oil pastels. I'll clean this puppy up and we'll bring it back and see if I made something a little bit more resembling of a flower, of a poppy. Okay, have a great day, artist. I will see you back here tomorrow. Happy art making.